All right, so thank you for tuning in and chomping at the bit. I'm Kyle Rivers, of course. So this episode, we're going to take a look at Game 4 of the NBA Finals. From the last episode, talked about it being a pivotal one as the Celtics were looking to take a 3-1 lead. But, of course, the Warriors were looking to tie it up 2-2, head back to San Francisco for Game 5 on Monday. So, of course, go ahead, kind of deep dive into what happened over the course of the game, and I guess let you know what to look forward to for Game 5 and all that good stuff. Plus, kind of want to talk about Steph Curry as well, because I feel like he is maybe, climbing up the ladder for some people in terms of, I guess, ranking for, players all time. And I think he may put some haters that he may have at rest, because he's been easily the best player for the Warriors in this series. But we'll dive into that a little bit more as we get into the episode. But as I asked last time, let me know if you're still enjoying the series or not, because I know for me, it's been pretty entertaining. So let's go ahead, get into what happened in Game 4. All right, so Game 4, it was probably the closest contest of the 4 games that we've had so far. After the first quarter, the Celtics were up 1. Back and forth. Curry started off well, like he's done pretty much every game this series. We got, I think Tatum looked a little bit better quarter 1 in this game, but he did have a little issue with his shoulder again, the one that's hurt. So at this point, I'm almost wondering, because he does go through stretches where his jump shot is off, if the shoulder may be hurting a little more than we've been led to believe. Because I think at this point we've been told it's like a stinger or something. I mean, I'd be interested to see after the series if get some type of update about what's really going on with his shoulder. I don't think it's anything too serious, but it seems to be something that's lingering with each game, because since he hurt it against Miami, every game you see him, flexing his arm or hanging his arm a little bit, rubbing his shoulder. So it's clearly lingering, and I mean, at this point, something he's got to work through, because as it is right now, we have at least 2 more games left in the season, at most 3 more games. So he's going to have to kind of just fight through it for now and try to get that title, which, I mean, would make the pain obviously feel so much better. But yeah, so back to the game. Now we know coming into the game, Draymond Green had a lot of attention forced upon him based off of his terrible showing in Game 3 and all the I guess off the court stuff that came after that, with crowd reacting to him, wife tweeting, I think mom reacted in some way as well. So all eyes are on him to see how he would play in this game. Wasn't that much better. He still only scored 2 points, and if it wasn't for Steph Curry, well, in this game he dropped 43, but he's been the number 1 option in offense each game, and each game he's performed really well. So luckily, Draymond Green's lack of production offensively in terms of scoring hasn't fully bitten the Warriors in the butt yet. But if they do go on to lose this series, it's going to be something that people are going to have to look at and see if Draymond could have given them a little more offensively, where would the team have been ultimately? So he's going to end up being a focal point of Game 5 as well. Now with it being at home, maybe he performs a little better. Because one thing we do see with Draymond Green is his offense does tend to be better when Warriors blow out teams, because a lot of times, teams start gambling on defense. He's able to find open lanes of the hoop. So it'll be interesting to see Game 5. How does he come out? If he struggles early, will the crowd boo him or any way, or could it turn to one of those situations that we see with some other teams where they'll have a guy who the fan base recognizes isn't that good of a shooter, so when they take shots they kind of gasp or whatever? Got to see how that looks. Steve Kerr actually sat him for a lot of the fourth quarter in this one. So once again, would he be willing to do the same thing in front of the home crowd? That bears watching. Klay Thompson, who had his best game, Game 3, followed it up with a decent game. He gave them 18 points. For me, I kind of thought going into this series, he'd have to give them a little more for them to win. But if Curry's going to give them 40 plus, the Warriors can live with 18 to 20 from Klay, as long as they get production from Jordan Poole, who gave them 14. He struggled from outside. He shot 2 of 7 from 3, so his 3-point shot still hasn't been to what the Warriors are expecting. But as long as the Warriors can get production from those 3, Wiggins also gave them 17 as well, so that was a big help. My only question is, if there's a game out of these, last 3 where Curry struggles and only gives them like 25, will those other guys be able to step up enough to make up for that, to beat the Celtics team? Because even with Curry scoring 43, it was a close game late. The Warriors won 107-97, but the game was so much closer than that, because in this game the Warriors didn't get that third quarter where they normally, outscore the Celtics by like double digits. They didn't get that this time. They only won the third quarter by 6 points. So the margin of error there was smaller than they had experienced in other games in this series. And only because the Celtics missed a couple of open 3-point shots late in the game were they actually able to win this one. Otherwise, we could be talking about a completely different series where the Celtics are going back there, back to San Francisco, up 3-1 instead of 2-2. Well, look at the other side. Tatum and Brown gave 23 and 21 respectively. Derek White gave them another pretty good game. He gave them 16 points. He was 4 for 12 from the field, but he was 3 for 5 from 3, which isn't expected from him. But it seems like he's starting to find his way against the Warriors in this offense. So I expect him to be a double-digit scorer each game from here on out. Grant Williams is one who his offense has kind of gone away at this point. But he also isn't taking as many shots as he was against Milwaukee or Miami. So I guess the Warriors are doing a better job of at least recognizing where he is on the court. Against those other teams, a lot of times it was, Brown, Tatum driving and kicking out to him. Now at times they've been able to do that in this series. But with Derek White producing a lot better now, with Robert Williams being in the lineup more, that's taken time away from Grant Williams, and that's why his production's gone down. But the little back and forth between he and Draymond Green, gotta say it's been a little entertaining because I think when Grant Williams came out of college, he went to Tennessee. I think his draft profile was something like a Draymond Green, I believe. Although Grant Williams is a better perimeter shooter than Draymond Green is, of course, but they're both, undersized power forwards, and they play small ball 5 as well. So there is some mirroring in each of theirs game, but Draymond Green is more of a playmaker than Grant Williams is, only because Draymond has the ball in his hand a lot more. But I also say Draymond is probably a better, ball handler than Grant Williams. But Grant Williams is a better shooter. And I might say at this point in their careers, Grant Williams is a better versatile defender. Because Draymond Green, we've seen him struggle in this series guarding Brown or Tatum. But then if they put him on Horford or Rob Williams, he can kind of get beaten up on the boards a little bit. So here we are after 4 games. It's 2-2. And one thing I am noticing with this series is that when the Warriors win, they average 107 points. They actually scored 107 points in each game. Coming into the playoffs, they were averaging 113 points a game during the regular season. So that means when they win, offensive production, they're down 6 points from the regular season. The Celtics, I believe, came into the playoffs averaging 111 points. But in their 2 wins, they're averaging 118 points. So they're outproducing their regular season numbers in their wins. But Golden State's underproducing their regular season in their 2 wins. So from the first 4 games, to me, the biggest X factor to any of these games, it's the Celtics offense. If the Celtics offense is clicking and they're knocking down 3-point shots, in game 4, the Celtics went 15 for 38, 40%. I think in the regular season they shot 37.5%. So that's actually a pretty good shooting night. It was just that late in the game, they missed open shots, and turnovers were a bit of an issue in this game because Golden State only turned the ball over 5 times. The Celtics turned over 15. So those are the 2 big things, which I guess kind of runs hand in hand with what I was saying at first. The Celtics offense, because if the Celtics aren't turning the ball over, that's more shots at the basket, more chance to shoot the 3, I guess you could say. And if they're going to shoot it around 39-40%, then that's why in their 2 wins they've scored 120, 116 points. So for the Warriors, once they get for game 5, they're going to have to force turnovers, because if they don't, at least from the looks of the first 4 games, when the Celtics take care of the ball and everything, the Warriors don't necessarily have enough to beat them. Because like I said, with Golden State, Steph Curry is the only offensive weapon that you can rely on at this point. And that's a pretty big issue for Steve Kerr and the coaching staff. And with all the, just to be frank, they're going to have to get more from 2 points from Draymond Green. They get nothing from Bielitsa. He only played 9 minutes, so I'm not worried about that. But Looney's giving you 6. Otto Porter also only scored 2 points. Now game 3, he hit a couple of threes, and ultimately that's what almost, I guess, did in the Celtics in game 3. But actually, no, game 3 was a 60-point win. But was that game 2 when Otto Porter? I don't know. There was one game where Otto Porter hit like a couple of big threes and all that. But so if you're gonna go into these games getting nothing from Green, nothing from Porter, nothing from Bielitsa, Looney, or Payton, that puts more pressure on Curry, Thompson, and Poole to step up, and Wiggins as well. Now, where Curry's, I guess, brilliance has been for Golden State is that when he comes off the screens, whether they be moving or not, I'm not gonna complain about officials or anything like that anymore. I mean, I'm not saying like I complain about the officials, because I understand it is what it is. Because my whole thing has always been with the officials, consistency. I don't care if you call every little ticky-tack foul, which it's the playoffs. I don't want to see that either. But if that's what you're doing, establish that early. If you're going to let it be physical, I guess to a line, establish that line early in the game so the teams can adjust to what's going on. That's the only reason why I want consistency, because these two teams, when there's allowed to be a flow to the game, it is entertaining basketball to watch. Both these teams play similar styles of basketball. Well, at least they normally do, because with Golden State, a lot of their offense has come from Curry with the ball, somebody setting a screen for him, and either pulling up from a few feet behind the three-point line, or depending who steps out on him, if you can get around them, then it's like a floater in the lane, something like that, which we saw that in Game 4. But we've also seen games where the Celtics were able to kind of, weather the storm with him, and for him to kind of wear down as the game goes on. So that's going to be a key for the Celtics in Game 5. Do as much as you can offensively, because yes, if they set a moving screen and get away with it, with Steph Curry having such a quick release, he's able to get his shot off. Now, yes, I know a lot of people have been talking about Horford's defense sagging too much, or Robert Williams sagging too much off of the screen, giving Curry too much room. I get it, and I see why it's frustrating to some people, but for me, I can understand with an Al Horford, he's not the youngest guy, so if he pushes up too much, then Curry will just go around him, and of course he would take a 2 over a 3, but I can see where in Horford's head he's trying to size up the space to give enough space that he doesn't get blown by, but also be able to contest, because a lot of these shots that Curry's making off of the screen, Horford and Robert Williams get hands up. It's just that they don't get their hand on the ball, and Curry, being a gifted three-point shooter, makes them so it looks like they're playing just awful defense. So I mean, it's the chess match in this finals. We'll see what the adjustment is for Game 5. I think the most you can ask for is for them to kind of do the same, maybe take a step further out to Steph Curry, and if he goes around him, have the weak side, will have the off-ball defender step up, force Curry to pass it off to somebody. The risk there, of course, is if he kicks it out to a Porter or Wiggins or one of those guys and they start making perimeter shots, then your defense is kind of screwed. And that's the danger that Udoka and the Celtics have to worry about. So I'm kind of okay with the way that they're playing. It's just that, to me, I think a reason why Udoka probably wouldn't change their defensive pressure or, application is because if the Celtics keep their turnovers down, they seem like they're a team that can beat Golden State. So that's probably where the focus is at this point. And the, I guess, best way to fix that would be, I don't know if it's made, well, it's probably a situation where, as they harped on before the series started, Celtics don't have any NBA Finals experience. I know it's not, I'm not trying to make an excuse here, but just follow me real quick. So, as we know, it's one thing you play the regular season. That's one brand of basketball. You get to the playoffs, that's another brand of basketball. You get to the NBA Finals, that's another level. So I think in some instances where the turnovers become a problem, Tatum and Brown maybe at times try to do a little too much, which is understandable because, for them, they're 2 wins away from winning a championship. You win a championship, that's a big deal, especially in Boston, even bigger deal. So I can understand why at times they may feel like they need to do more, which can get them into trouble. But I also don't want that aggression to be taken away from them. Because if they take that away, then they may settle for too many jump shots, which I don't want them to do as well. Tatum in Game 4, he went 4 for 8 from 3. Jaylen Brown was 2 for 6. I'm fine with that. Now Smart went 3 for 9. Maybe for Smart, if that 3-point number could come down, I'm okay with Smart taking 4 or 5 threes a game. Brown with 6 is fine, and Tatum 8, fine. But I think for them, if I want them to continue to be aggressive going to the hoop, I guess just have better ball protection going there. So, for me, as a Celtics fan, I haven't changed my prediction at all. I'm still Celtics in 7. First 4 games haven't changed my mind in any way. Because like I said, defensively, the Celtics are actually doing well against Golden State. I know there's a lot of media attention to what they're doing defensively. But they've given up 108 points, 107, 100, and 107 in this series. Name another team that goes up against this Golden State squad that can put together a 4-game run like that. If they go for Game 5 and the Warriors are struggling to get to 100 points, I feel pretty good about the Celtics winning that game, even with it being on the road. Because this Celtics team has shown that they've actually played better on the road in the playoffs so far. That should worry Warriors fans, because 2 of the last 3 are on the road, and technically the Celtics only need to win 1 of the 2 and try to take care of business Game 6 back in Boston. So if Golden State were to lose Game 5, they're going to be in a world of trouble, even though the Warriors know that they can win Game 6 back in Boston. So as I'm looking at Game 5, to me, I think to a lot of you listening, you would think Boston should be the more desperate team in this matchup because they don't want to fall down 3-2 and have Game 6 be an elimination game. I actually think it's the other way around. I think there's more pressure on Golden State to win Game 5, go up 3-2. That way, if they go back to Boston, yes, they'd love to close it out there in Game 6, but have the knowledge in the back of their mind that they have a Game 7 to go back to and feel okay about it. If the Celtics win Game 5, with the atmosphere that would be created in a Game 6 in Boston, I kind of think the series would end there. And only for the part that I don't know what the Golden State others would do if that Celtics crowd was even turned up a little bit more than they've been. Like, I know Steph Curry will probably be fine in that situation, but I don't know what I'm getting from Klay Thompson from game to game. Jordan Poole, he seems to only play well in Warriors wins. I don't know if it gets going and it's a close game, middle of fourth quarter. Will he be able to show out? I don't know that. And yes, and for the Celtics, I have no worries about them because we've seen them do this several times. Brooklyn series out of the question, but they were down, I think they were down 3-2 to Milwaukee. Yeah, and then had to win game 6, which they did, and then ultimately won game 7. Then, yeah, because they were down 3-2, went to Milwaukee game 6 in an elimination game, won that game, then won game 7 back in Boston. Miami, they were they down 3-2 against Miami? They might have been. Either way, in those two series, we saw them win big games on the road. And there's just something about this Celtics team where they seem to relish that kind of pressure on them. So I would fully expect game 5 to see Jaylen Brown come out, have a Jaylen Brown first quarter, where he's been pretty dominant in first quarters. And I think we'll get the best game from Tatum that we've seen so far in a game 5. So for me sitting here, I think the Celtics win game 5. Once again, call me a homer, but I think there's going to come a point where Golden State's not going to get the game that they is going to get a rough shooting game or maybe an average game from Steph Curry. And I don't know if those other pieces are willing to show up. Well, not willing to show up, but will show up and carry the load to, make up for that. So, like a normal game for Steph Curry, let's say 28 points. That means Thompson, Wiggins, or Poole is going to have to give you like 25. And to be honest with you, I don't know if that can happen against the Celtics defense. So yeah, they lost game 4. A lot of people were saying it was a blown opportunity for the Celtics. But this is kind of the part that I don't get. Coming into this series, we knew Golden State was the toughest matchup the Celtics were going to see so far. So I don't understand why people are trying to get on the Celtics for losing game 4. Because if they had won that, the series would basically be over. And you can't expect Curry to give you 43 each game. That's the only reason why Golden State won game 4. So, as a Celtics fan, I am still optimistic in this series. I guess if you're rooting for the Warriors, let me know how you're feeling after game 4. Are you, I guess, even more optimistic that your team wins it? Let me know. But yeah, I've been enjoying this series so much. And I think I think these next 2 or 3 games gonna be classics. I really think so. But I guess I've been seeing out there, in terms of MVP. Obviously, if Golden State wins it, Steph Curry is the Finals MVP. There's not another choice out there. There isn't anybody close. If you're looking at possible MVPs of this series, the next Warriors player would probably be Wiggins, and he's probably 4th or 5th on my list of MVPs in this series so far. The more interesting debate would be Celtics, whether it be Tatum or Brown. I think you can't go wrong either way. I'd probably lean towards Brown right now. But if Tatum has a game in Game 5 like I think he can and will have, I think that will sway the vote to him. But I can't wait for Monday night. I'm sure you can't either. But I think that's about it for me. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share it with somebody, and go on over to Twitter. Follow me at Chompin' Podcast. Should be a link to it wherever you listen to this episode right now. Should be a link to the Twitter page. And then follow me over there. We can talk, interact over there as well during the games, between games, however. But yeah. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. Be safe out there. God bless. And I'll catch you next episode. All right. I'm out.